Hello, everyone, and welcome to MarkLogic World 2020. I'm Ken Krupa from MarkLogic, and I'm here with Stuart Shaline from WealthCounsel. Welcome, Stuart.
Thanks, Ken. Glad to be here.
Happy to have you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about WealthCounsel, what you guys do, and then tell us a little about what you do with MarkLogic specifically.
Great. Yeah, we're WealthCounsel's headquartered in Draper, Utah. We're a small company that provides software education and community to attorneys in the trust and estates world. We have provided a desktop solution since about 2000, and around 2013 we began looking at a cloud version of our software in order to meet the needs of customers who are asking for cloud solutions or were Mac users and wanted a Mac solution. We didn't have one at the time, and rather than build a specific Mac version, we preferred to go to the cloud. But we looked at a variety of solutions, from document automation systems to content management systems, a lot of different technologies, and our journey eventually led us to MarkLogic.
That's great. Yeah, pesky Mac users always causing trouble with software
That's right.
vendors. So, yeah, it's great. It's great that you did that. Great that you made that cloud journey and fairly early on. And it seems like a very conservative market, no less, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine attorneys are a risk-averse customer base. So maybe expand upon that a little bit, and what features and capabilities of MarkLogic, really resonated with you guys.
Yeah. You're right. Lawyers are naturally risk averse. They have to protect their clients' information. They have to make sure they get the law right. And when they're using an automated solution like the software we provide, they've got to make sure it works really well. So some of the concerns they had at the time, a lot of the bar associations did not have any guidance about the use of cloud software in legal practice. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of our customers, while they wanted a cloud solution, weren't sure that their local bar association would permit that. In some cases, their liability insurance provider wouldn't insure their practice if they use cloud software. So we had to do our own research to find out what the state of each bar association's guidance was, to, in some cases, encourage them to come up with guidance, and in a few cases to work with insurance providers to help them understand what we were trying to do. But I think the big concern they have is that the document's right, that it's accurate, that the grammar's right, that the legal substance is correct, because that's what they're paying for, right? They're paying for us to give them that productivity. They can trust us to get those things right. Those are all big challenges for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine, and some of the features that we've talked about in the past probably have stood out, because making this journey to a SaaS company, we're going through it ourselves, and we have to worry about not just providing software, but safeguarding information, right? All of a sudden, you're responsible for the information that your customers are giving you. And so maybe tell us a little bit about some of the things that resonated for the SaaS journey and shifting your whole business mindset of, from a software provider to a service provider.
Yeah, that's something else I should have mentioned with respect to risk, and that was part of our journey. A lot of the people that we talked to said, look, I'm more comfortable with the padlock on my office door and the password on my desktop computer. And it took us some time to educate them and say, do you have a backup? Do you have consistent backups? Do you encrypt that server, that desktop PC? So it took us, we had to do some education, right, to help them understand that with a cloud solution, you have security, encryption, you have features that you can afford as a small solo practitioner mm-hmm. or small law firm. And I think that was persuasive to many of our customers as they realized, I can't afford my own dedicated IT staff. And so having a partner in WealthCounsel who provides some of those features. So it was important to us to be able to tell a good story around those features: security, isolation of their data, robust backup and the ability to rewind, if there was a failure, to rewind the day's transactions to a specific point, and even to recover data. From time to time, we get a customer who says, I just deleted a trust I've been working on for months.
Oof.
And we'll have to, fortunately we have a backup and we can dig it out and give it to them. So there are features in the cloud that overcame some of that initial hesitance.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So on the one hand, you were convincing people that their information was safe and that this new model was safe. But on the other hand, you were saying you really can't do this with the old model. They would have lost data. I remember the first time years ago when I asked, I had switched accountants and I had said, so what do you do to make sure my data is safe? And they really didn't have an answer. Because dealing with a tech person, obviously they were like, oh no, they're used to the mom and pop shop. And I'm like, all right, well, this is what I do. What do you do to keep my data safe? So, really thankful for companies like yourselves that have, that are educating businesses that might not be thinking about things that are important to everybody now.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've learned, you've learned a lot along the way. What kind of other transitions are happening for WealthCounsel beyond just shifting from a software provider to a service provider? What's on the horizon?
Well, MarkLogic has so many features that are useful to us. The fact that it's a multi-model database allows us to store other information. Of course, our documents are very complex. There's complex logic in them. There's grammar, of course, the text itself. But MarkLogic's semantics, for example, is very interesting to us. One of the problems we wanted to solve by moving to the cloud and moving to MarkLogic was to finally create a formal data model of our domain. Because of the tools that we'd used in the past, there was no attempt to do that. And of course, modeling complex documents over a broad domain like trusted estates is certainly challenging. But that's something we've taken on, and we want to continue to do that. MarkLogic's no schema capabilities is appealing to us. So we can put in these documents and examine them and start to identify the structure and pull that out. So we expect to get more into the data modeling, the formal model underneath our products, and then leveraging that knowledge to provide new services. One of the really big challenges of our domain is an attorney, while they like our content, they may have very specific needs for their own practice. They may use a different term than we use, or they may want to insert language in their trusts and have it there whenever they create a new document. Well, that creates problems when we change our templates. If they've modified our templates, inserted their own paragraphs or language, reconciling those differences when we upgrade is a real problem, and it keeps a lot of people from using document automation. We think with MarkLogic and the approach that we've taken, we can finally solve that problem where they can make their changes, we can make ours, and when there's an upgrade, those changes can happen without them having to do a reconciliation, which can take weeks and months in some cases. Those are some of the features.
Yeah, that sounds very slick. All too often people assume it's an either or. Either it's fully automated or it has to involve a person, and you keep those things separate. It's really difficult and challenging to be able to make them work in harmony, like what you explained. So that sounds really exciting. I'm excited for you guys, because that's a problem that companies large and small face everywhere in every industry. So with that in mind, I mean, you've gone from this, software provider journey to the SaaS journey. Now you're getting embedded in your customers' workflow, kind of changing their business and creating new business opportunities for them. Given all that, what advice do you have for other organizations making similar journeys?
Wow, it's been a hard journey for us, I'll admit. It's been hard to change our mindset from kind of a document automation orientation to more of a workflow orientation, like you mentioned. And often the problems are less technical than they are cultural in an organization. There are those who've been around a long time and are comfortable with the way we used to do things, and change is scary to them. But we found that to survive and to thrive and to meet the requests from our customers, we have to rethink who we are as a company. We have to remember that we're in the business of helping them be more productive. Our tagline is changing the way lawyers work. And that means we have to dive into painful conversations. We have to contemplate difficult change, sometimes expensive change. You know, to re-architect a desktop product for the cloud is no easy undertaking. Mm-hmm. And it takes a visionary leadership, you know, an ownership and management that are willing to take on those challenges and those risks, especially in the kind of environment in which we exist, where attorneys have special duties to protect their clients' data and to ensure the accuracy of the documents that they produce with our software. So I guess my advice would be make the change, but make it carefully and cautiously and within the cultural constraints of your organization. Not every organization is the same, and that transition may be easier for some than others.
Well, that's great. But, you know, you mentioned visionary leadership, the ability to realize that change is necessary. It's like you said, it's not the same for everybody, but it is necessary. I think we're all realizing now how dependent we are on technology these days, especially given what's happening in the world. So you guys are definitely ahead of the curve, and really happy that your journey is progressing the way you guys set out to, you know, you planned it to progress that way. So Stuart, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate the talk, and I learned a lot. Thank you, everybody else, for joining, and looking forward to seeing you in other videos.
Thanks, Kim.
Thanks.